Hello and welcome to happilyeducated.com. I am outside talking to you today because we are getting sheetrock installed, finally, and our house is a disgusting, horrible mess. So, yeah, be nice to have walls next time. I guess you get to see those, and until then, it's just nice to enjoy the weather. So today's post was supposed to be about self-determination theory. Self-determination theory is a very interesting theory of human motivation that I look forward to talking to you about soon. However, as I was thinking about the theory and thinking about how it relates to my own life, I had a rather scary realization, which is what I actually want to talk to you about today. So I realized that I rarely, if ever, do anything just for fun anymore. And I'm really not sure how I feel about that. You know, I do fun things, but I don't do them purely for the sake of having fun. For example, I like to run and I like to dance, but I don't run and dance for fun. I run and dance for exercise. And similarly, I love reading, but these days I only read things that have some sort of educational value. And I can barely remember the last novel I read. And it's been even longer since I read a trashy novel. So, although on one hand I think this is really messed up, on the other I think it's perfectly fine, or perhaps even a good thing. Although I don't want to become an old fuddy-duddy who doesn't know how to enjoy herself, I also realize that my time on Earth is limited, and so I'd better use it wisely. Now, more importantly for the sake of today's post, this conundrum reminded me of how much I dislike feeling uncertain about how to live my life. I derive a real sense of security and confidence from knowing that I'm doing the right thing. And when I can't figure out what the right thing is, I feel somewhat anxious and definitely uncomfortable. For me, and I think for most people, doubt is uncomfortable. I suppose this is in part because it forces me to acknowledge my own ignorance, but I think there's actually more to it than that. I think it touches upon some deep-seated insecurity or just need to experience a coherent sense of self. And now, interestingly, I keep stumbling upon recommendations or the advice to embrace uncertainty, which is certainly something that I should probably be doing right now. And just in the past month, I've stumbled across this idea in Nate Silver's book, The Signal and the Noise, Daniel Kahneman's Thinking Fast and Slow, and 2 New York Times articles that I posted on the blog for you. Basically, they all say the same thing. They say that, we humans like clear, unambiguous, good stories, but that our world is too complex to be explained in simple terms. So basically, we ignore the messiness of reality because it makes us feel good. It makes us feel confident and secure in our beliefs and opinions, even when we shouldn't be. So a prime example of this might be how, pundits on the news typically declare their opinions as though they are indisputable and straightforward facts, rather than acknowledging that different points of view have value and that no one can predict the future with absolute certainty. Because I have a terrible memory, I actually have quite a bit of practice acknowledging my own ignorance and uncertainty. I only remember things that I find truly interesting, so I'm constantly having to admit to not knowing things that I probably should know. And this used to really bother me, but as I get older, I just care less about looking smart in other people's eyes. Now, I also realize that my humble little human brain just does not have the capacity to know everything there is to know, and similarly, I don't have time to learn everything there is to learn. Furthermore, although science keeps moving us closer and closer to understanding our world, we're still a long ways off from completely getting it. And really, I have no trouble embracing uncertainty when it is the result of these both personal and societal limitations. What does bother me, however, is having mixed feelings about my own thoughts and behavior. I would like to feel sure about how I should spend my time or energy, but instead I am forever doubting, should I work more or play more? Should I do more for others? Should I do more for myself? Should I experience the present moment, or should I plan for the future, etc., etc., etc.? And I even doubt whether it's possible to answer these questions definitively. As I pointed out earlier, our world is complex. So pretty much everything that we do has both pros and cons associated with it, which means that there's a lot of room to question your own actions. Now, Intellectually, I can more or less accept this, but emotionally, it's much harder to come to terms with. Uncertainty simply does not feel good. And, since the alternative to uncertainty is basically oversimplification, self deception, or denial, I suppose that embracing uncertainty is the best possible option. But what does that actually mean? What does it look like, or what does it feel like to embrace uncertainty? Is it enough to simply recognize my doubts, or do I actually have to learn to like them? And I have no answers to these questions. All I know is that I don't really know. Now, there is one bit of good news, though. When I was reflecting on this, I realized that although I am not certain about many, many things, I am more certain than I used to be. Just like how scientists keep moving closer to unraveling the mysteries of the universe, I keep moving closer to unraveling the mysteries of myself. And when I compare, my present understanding of myself with what I thought I knew about myself just a few years back, it's clear that I am making progress. So I'm really curious to know about other people's experience of this situation. How do you embrace uncertainty in your life, or do you embrace uncertainty in your life? What do you do when you're asking yourself a question that just seems to have no good answer? Can you simply say, I don't know, and then let it go? So I hope to hear back from you about that. Maybe you'll be able to share some insight that will help me with this Embracing Uncertainty project. But until then, thanks so much for watching, and happy learning.